welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. All right. Welcome back to another episode of Turn Left. I'm Indiana's own Dana Black. Woo, we got a lot of amazing candidates running. It is what it is, and it's something that everybody should be excited about. But more importantly, as I've said on multiple shows, you all should be trying to figure out how you can help. Because, see, elections, this is not a spectator sport. You got to roll up your sleeves, you know what I'm saying? Get your walking shoes on, put some iPads in your ear or whatever you got to do, iPhones in your ear, go out, knock doors, help people in any way you can. And my goal is to bring you the candidates so you know who to help. So now I'm excited to meet this person because, see, look, I like their logo colors. Y'all, welcome to the show, Kate-Lynn Holley, who is running in for State Senate District 6. Kate-Lynn, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited that you are here. First of all, do you go by Kate-Lynn or just Kate? Because I like the way it's spelled.
Either matters. I've been called both by everyone. So Kate or Kate-Lynn is fine.
I love it. And I'm just going to say it. I love originality because there's nothing about me original. Like, I don't have any great inventions or great ideas. I just take somebody else's idea and I can expand on it. Tell me about the pink. I love the pink.
Thank you. Yes, when I very first decided I was going to do this crazy thing called being a candidate, when I spoke to the person who was going to be doing my branding, he was like, what do you want to go for? What's your idea? And I don't know. It was just like, I knew it in my soul. I was like, I need bubblegum pink and denim blue and like an off-white pearlescent color. And he kind of just like shook his head and he was like, that's a choice. And I was like, I want my logo and my branding to feel like somebody took Elle Woods from Legally Blonde and Dolly Parton and like put them together in one, because it's really my vibe in life. And so I think that we did a good job capturing that with the logo and the colors.
I'm going to tell you, I love it. I've seen a lot of campaign logos, a lot of blues, reds, a few greens, but the pink is the first I've seen. And I'm telling you, it popped out at me. So you're going to catch some eyes. That's for sure. So good on you. Good on you.
Thank you.
So tell the people who you are and where you come from.
I'm Kate-Lynn Holley. Obviously, I live in Indiana. I grew up in Lake County, which is like the tippy top most northwest county in Indiana. We literally touch like Chicago and Illinois and all of that. I do now live in Jasper County, which is just a little bit more southern. I grew up like in the sort of household that you could reach out the window and touch the house next door to you. So I basically am a child. I grew up in poverty, basically. And all of these programs that we see getting cut were programs that I benefited from growing up. And so it really breaks my heart when I see them start to get cut or diminished, because I have like survived life merely because I was afforded those opportunities. Yeah. And so when I saw they started to get cut, and of course, once you get older and you have your own children, you kind of start to just get more tied to the things that are happening in the world. I don't want my daughter to grow up in a world where she doesn't have the same rights that I had growing up. And I also don't want other children to grow up in a world that they don't have access to basic necessities to live. So that's basically what drives me. A little bit about me is now, like I said, I'm a mom. I'm a former retired professional wrestler.
Wait, hold on. Stop the presses. I'm sorry. You were a what?
I'm a former professional wrestler. I'm not like one of those people that just like wrestled in my backyard or something. I even had a match on WWE Raw against Sasha Banks and Bailey. If you look it up on YouTube, it's Samantha Simon. So yeah, for like, I think 6 years, I was a professional wrestler, and I traveled to like London and even like Las Vegas, and I wrestled all over the Midwest.
See, I'm so here for this. I am so here for this. Oh my goodness. Because see, Now I ain't even got to worry. When you win, they not coming for you. You just go ahead and drop them off the top of the ropes, baby. We're not.
Uh, yeah, it's in fact, like when I give my speech and people say that, I was like, I want the supermajority to tell me what I'm gonna do because I'm gonna tell them what
Right.
I'm gonna do.
Did you watch the madness at the White House? I mean, since you're a wrestling fan, did you watch that?
I could not bring my soul to give that
Mm.
attention. So no, I did
Ooh,
not.
I ain't mad at you. So okay, now I gotta stop. We're gonna talk politics in just a minute. But
Sure.
what made you want to be a professional wrestler? And how did you
Uh,
get there?
it's just a weird story. So I, like most of us, was trying to, as a young adult, just work my way through life, making ends meet. So I was working overnight at a Steak and Shake, and one of my friends from high school, who I did musical theater with, I'm a former theater nerd as well. He was coming, he was there, and I was like, "Where are you guys coming back from?" And he was like, "Oh, we're just coming from a wrestling show." And then we got to talking, and he actually was an independent wrestler. And I was like, "That's so cool," like, and professional wrestling, it has an aspect of like
Of
entertainment to
course.
it. And I'm a former theater kid, so I was like, "Oh, I always wanted to try that." And he was just like, "You should come by, practice, and try it out." And then it was just like a light bulb in my head, and I was like, "I think I will." And then I did, and the rest is history. I just took every opportunity afforded to me, and I kind of just worked my way up the ladder.
Wow, wow, wow. That is exciting. That is a whole different experience. So when you were doing the professional wrestling, what did you see that kind of helped shape who you are now? That, was there a light bulb moment? Was there an epiphanal moment? I'm so curious.
What helped me? Is there anything in wrestling that crafted me to become like in active in
Just
politics?
not necessarily just as a woman, like, you're Kate-Lynn. You are who you are. There are a lot of life experiences that, shape you. I want to know what shaped you from wrestling.
So like I said, I've always been like I even when I said I kind of grew up, I'm a child of poverty. There was even a time where we were like put into like foster care for a short time.
Wow.
So it's like in my life, I like to say I exist purely out of spite. I've just always had to fight to just even live and survive. So being a bit of a former theater kid, which like deep down, I loved theater so much because I could become a character and kind of escape my reality while I was performing. It was kind of the same thing for wrestling. It was a way to be a character, become bigger than life. In wrestling, we say our gimmick, which is our character, is just a more wild extension of yourself.
Mm.
And so I've always been sort of like a scrappy but happy-go-lucky person. So I could just be that like times 10 in the wrestling ring. And other than that, it also helped me kind of shape who I am when I'm like, just like I like to use the word feminist, but I also really like to push the point that feminism is not just like equal rights for women, but allowing women to be just whatever they want to
Ain't that it?
be. Don't fit us into a box.
Come on.
And it's kind of what actually helped me even pick the color pink is because I knew that some of these people who maybe align more on the conservative side of the political spectrum, they hear wrestling and they might think that I'm like uber aggressive or masculine, but then I come in with this bright pink color and you just can't help but smile. And I feel like the bright pink color disarms that super uber like
Hmm.
aggressive masculine part of me. And I also just think that that's the color pink. Like it's makes you like feel light on your feet and like happy, and but it's also bold and like
Hmm.
aggressive. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's just what makes Caitlyn Caitlyn, I guess.
That is an amazing story. I got to tell you, you're my first wrestler. You're my first wrestler. I've never interviewed a candidate, a wrestler. Oh my God, I love originality. Oh my God, you have just made my day today. All right.
Yay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned, it sounds like, you had a difficult childhood growing up. When you talk about living in poverty, also talking about being in foster care. Talk about some of the things that you experienced. Again, I talked about how the wrestling shaped you. How did those experiences shape you and then bring you to the point where you wanted to be engaged civically to run for office?
Yeah. So another aspect to that is I was also brought up in a very like conservative and religious background.
Mm,
And so even when we were in foster care, we were actually very blessed because our pastor of our church at that time, his family was a foster family, and we had five other foster families in our church. And so he was able to pull some strings where I actually got to stay with them and his daughter because she was my best friend at the time. And my two older brothers got to stay together at other houses. And so we at least still got to see each other at church 2 times a week. So we
love that.
never really suffered from, like, we're very blessed in that aspect that there's some people who have, like, they get split up from their siblings and they never see them again. So I admit that I had a privilege in that aspect. But kind of on that same thing is that church family did a lot for us just to make sure we were, we stayed together and that we could stay tight knit in a family. And even when we were placed back at home, I was given like a laundry bag. And there's people at church that if I would bring my laundry bag and put it in like a certain closet in the church, they would take it and they would like wash all my clothes and put it there. Like, so they knew what the circumstance of us living were, and they just found ways to always kind
Mm,
of get around it. So we didn't really go without. We still went without, but they were like trying to find ways to like ease that discomfort. But also through church, I kind of just always learned, I think the point, if we talk about it, even though it gets very clouded in today's political climate, the point of Christianity is basically to try to be Christ-like, to
hmm
be like Jesus. And Jesus, embraced the poor and the brokenhearted and the widow and the sick and the oppressed. And growing up in that very, I would say, I'll probably get a lot of flack for this, but the situation was very cult-like and I was very indoctrinated. I've been
mm,
very open that I haven't always voted Democrat in my life because when you're in that situation, you're kind of told what to do. And until
hmm
you're out of that situation and start to experience the world of yourself, you don't even realize you're being indoctrinated.
hmm hmm
So when I kind of just started, like, got like had a step back from that and like was, working in the real world or secular world, as they would have had us call it, and I started to get to know people outside of like that church
hmm
group, just realized a lot of the things we were being taught, the actions weren't necessarily lining up with that.
hmm
And I think
hmm
that's a huge problem in today's day and age as well. But really, that's just my natural progression of. I do think the teachings of Jesus, no matter if you are a Christian or anything, just the teachings of Jesus are still very good rules to live by. Like I
hmm
said, like embracing the sick, oppressed, the widow, the poor. And it's kind of just my natural progression of how I got here. So even though I had those very, you know, like terrible circumstance, Jesus kind of went through a lot in the last few days of his life. So it's like if he can overcome that, we can all overcome it. And so I kind of just tried to, I don't know, live Christ-like, I guess.
That is, see, I love that. I love that story because one of the things that frustrates the hell out of me is, Republicans assuming that they have a moratorium on faith and Christianity. I've interviewed ministers on this show of different denominations in the Christian faith, and I can't wait till we get more Christian Democrats who are openly, expressing their faith elected, because then we can stop the nonsense that humanity, on no matter what side of the aisle, we all fall on a spectrum. So you don't get a moratorium, especially when you're writing policies that are harmful. So you talked about how you made that transition from, you knew that you were being indoctrinated, and then after you were able to get away, you were able to see the world differently. Was there a pivotal moment, or was there an event that happened that got you to recognize, like, wait a second, this ain't that, right?
I wouldn't, I couldn't name the moment, but I will tell you that my brain was starting to shift there pre the huge like evolution of like Bernie Sanders
Mm-hmm.
coming into the limelight.
Mm-hmm.
And my brain was like already working through all of that. But then when you have this gentleman who my whole life I was told Democrats, 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 blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? You have this gentleman and his words are more aligning with the stuff. And I don't want a bunch of Christians giving me flack. I said more aligning.
Right.
His words are more aligning with what we've been told our entire lives. I think if you're an intelligent person, you just naturally, go there. Like I would even say in my like being in church groups, they've even said like when people are like, what if I struggle with my brain is like, intrusive thoughts, like what if God isn't real, blah, blah, blah. I remember being told a smart person, your brain is naturally going to question things like that. And honestly, if your brain isn't questioning stuff like that, you're doing something wrong. You're not getting the right experiences, so your brain is questioning. And so yeah, it's just here Bernie Sanders like becoming very, very relevant, hearing his words match up with what I'd been taught my whole life. It's kind of just like, oh wait, I have been indoctrinated
Yeah.
to believe this is the way. And like I even go back to, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure my second election ever was Obama's first term. And I actually have like an actual memory of my mother, I use that term lightly, and my stepdad. It was the first time my stepdad had ever voted. He like literally registered to vote against Barack Obama. And I remember them telling me how like this was such a pivotal moment in our country and then like blah, 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 blah. And like even then I didn't realize what the big issue was because this gentleman was preaching hope. Well, I guess not preaching, but this gentleman was speaking hope and like his words were also lining up with like not what was actually like his words were lining up more with like what we say we believe and want to follow as opposed to the circumstances we were being served. And so it's kind of like it started to just kind of like what we're saying is not what we're doing. And I was always taught to let your words and actions line up.
Oh, so. God, I am loving this conversation. So let me ask you, you put your name on a ballot. Like I'm loving your process, your journey you've been on. But what was the thing? I know that you talk about, some of the policies that are being taken away, but what was the thing that said, I am going to run for office?
So this first sentence isn't gonna sound like it's relevant, but I promise it is. I'm a bit of a storyteller.
I love it. And you're telling great stories.
Thank you. I just saw a headline today that said, Democrats, if they have a chance to win, they need to re-embrace patriotism. And at that subject line, I don't disagree. But what I'm going to say is the process of me getting my name on the ballot was an act of patriotism.
Yes.
So I saw a graphic from Mad Voters. I'm sure you're aware of them. And they came out and it showed that at some early point in January, no one, not even the incumbent, had filed for re-election or election in District 6. They had in House of Representatives, but not in Senate. And I was like, no one is voting? Like, that's weird. And then no one is running. That's weird. And I went and looked it up. And actually, the incumbent, Rick Niemeyer, he actually ran unopposed, the election before. And I was like, these people had no choice. They just had to take, Rick Niemeyer. And that actually gave him, I think, his fourth term in Senate. And I was like, that's not democracy. Like, democracy is choice. And I saw that no one else was running. And by the time I got down to Indy to file, someone filed for the Republican primary, but there was still no Democrat. And I was like, you know what? Like I said, democracy is choice. I'm going to be a patriot. I'm going to put my name on that ballot. If not me, then who? And we're just going to see how this goes. And like I said, it's just my act of patriotism to put my name on the ballot. And that's how I got here.
I love that. That's one of the reasons why I ran was like, there was nobody on the ballot in 2014 and it was driving me nuts. And I was like, you know what? We're going to give these people a choice. Whether I win or not is irrelevant. We're going to give them a choice. You know what? You do tell a great story. That's for dang on sure. So this is going to be a great conversation. one of the things that I love about candidates, especially first time candidates, is finding out the road that got them here. And I'm gonna ask this question because I kind of want to know, but I don't want you to think I'm being like, snooty, right?
Okay.
Okay. So, what is your formal education?
I'm not even a college graduate. I have a public education. I graduated with a core 40 from Gavitt High School in 2006, Indiana public
Love
education.
it. Love it.
And I also am. We stopped talking about it because we got onto the wrestling thing.
Right.
But at the moment, I'm also a realtor, and
Oh.
I sit on the Northwest Indiana Realtor Association board up here for that's our MLS up here, where I help craft not necessarily legislation, but I help craft like our rules that we work by up here. And so I don't know, Indiana's government is kind of set up where you can be a legislator part-time and work a job part-time. And I think that a government ought to reflect the people that are in its area. And I would say there's a handful. Most people in my area, in my district, are like high school graduates and don't necessarily have that college education. And if I'm being really honest, the person sitting in the White House isn't necessarily greatly educated. So if he can do it, so can I.
And see, I set you up for success. Okay, because let me tell you why. I kind of had a feeling that because most people that come on the show, they tell me what university they went to, right? It's like they give us your resume. I would do the same thing, right? I went to Indiana Wesleyan. I would tell people I'm a non-traditional student, went back at 35. I would do I've had a feeling that you hadn't. And here's the cool part about it. I wanted you to tell people that because you're right. Your legislators should reflect your community. People sit around thinking that they have to have all of these letters behind their name to run for office. And I beg them all the time, no, you don't.
I agree.
You just need to it's residency requirements. And so thank you, Kate, for putting your name on the ballot, not thinking that you weren't good enough because you didn't have this or don't have that, and showing that all walks of life should be representing us in the State House. So thank you. I set you up. I did. I kind of knew.
Totally.
So now you're out here running for office. First, I want you to tell me, as you're out communicating with people and you're out here knocking doors or going to events or whatever you're doing, what are folks telling you that they want you to work on when you win? And then tell us how what they've been sharing with you has shaped your campaign.
So when I'm out having conversations, a lot of it isn't surprising because a lot of it is affordability. And we just say that as a word, on a platform, but really affordability is basically all of life. It has to do with housing, which is actually what also piqued my interest because I'm a realtor. And so I'm like, I can do a lot of stuff with housing. It's also, it's great if you can afford the house, but can you afford $400 a month for the electric bill? Depending on where you live, we have well water, so we don't have to pay for water, but there are many people who have to pay a water bill. It's having all the appliances to wash your clothes or being able to go to the laundromat. It is being able to afford a car to get back and forth to work. Now, not only is that car more expensive because of all the tariffs of all the parts that it takes to make the car or the microchips that go in the car, now it's even more expensive to put gas in the vehicle. So affordability affects every single aspect of our life. It's even groceries, can you buy milk to have your cereal? Oops, sorry.
No, you're fine.
So that is what I'm hearing the most. Affordability, especially in our area. We have an energy crisis. We have a monopoly basically of NIPSCO. And over the past, I'd say year and a half, most people's bills have doubled like 4 times the amount they were paying. So people who were paying like maybe $90 a year and a half ago, like they're seeing bills of $400 or more. And then on top of that, we're starting to get all of this business about data centers. And I don't want to get into data centers too much. they are a hot button issue, but they're also very nuanced and they could take up like 40 minutes just to get to the
Absolutely.
bottom of
Absolutely.
it. So it really is affordability. And another thing that played into my decision of being a candidate is like I've told you guys about my upbringing, and then I just worked my butt off to kind of overcome my circumstances. If I lived in a household where the husband was a 150 union worker, because my husband's in the union, and the wife is a fairly profitable real estate agent, you'd think like, hey, they're well off. They're like real middle class blue collar workers. And now here we are with these two great jobs because they are great jobs, and we are sometimes most of the time living paycheck to paycheck. Like
Wow.
if it's hard for us, I can only imagine the struggle other people, be it single moms or two parent households, are going through. So affordability is the big issue. Rising energy costs are the big issue. Gas costs, like how am I going to, when it's not the summer, during the summer, afford childcare, as well as put gas in the car, as well as get to work so I can at least make enough money to maybe make my bills for the month and still serve my kids dinner. Like those are the sorts of things that I'm hearing.
Interesting, interesting. I love that. And so when you put together your platform, affordability, when people ask you why you're running, what do you tell them? I mean, because you got to give them a short answer, right?
My short answer, and I hope that this is allowed, is I go, I'm tired of the bullshit,
I love
and I
it.
want to change it. That's my short answer.
I love it. And I think it's great that you the Democratic Party, we have a platform, and you're hitting on all of the things that are in our platform.
Yeah.
And we've got to start sending people to the state house that understand the struggle and find ways to better that, because right now that's the majority. This governor, like the SB1, that's one of the bills that a lot of folks are talking about. I read in the newspaper the other day, Kate, that last year there were about maybe 19 to 20 school districts that had to have referendums to ask the taxpayers to pay more money. But since SB1 this year, there's going to be upwards to 60 school districts that are looking to put a referendum on the ballot. Talk about what your vision or how you think you could help in protecting public education.
I wouldn't say I have just one vision. I've
Okay.
already talked about it on some, like I do a week or a monthly live where I try to
Ooh.
just answer everybody's questions that I've gotten throughout the month. And on one of those, I said a lot of these problems, and it includes like data centers even, a lot of these problems are really a breakdown of us trying to treat everything as one separate problem, when really what we have is just a terrible economic ecosystem.
Hmm.
And all of these problems kind of bleed in together. I have a point, I promise.
No, you're good. You're good.
I
I love
don't
listening to
want,
you. So just keep talking.
I don't want to raise people's taxes when they're already struggling to make ends meet
Hmm.
and afford basic necessities. And I know what I'm about to say is just like major and like pulling teeth, but really, I believe in keeping Indiana's money in Indiana. And just as a business person, when I look at the numbers, we have a large amount of money going to Illinois, Michigan, and soon Kentucky through cannabis sales. And so I'd really love to see us, and even Governor Braun, love him or hate him, you know what I feel. He's already brought up that we need to talk about this. Like, this is a serious issue. It's something we need to talk about. And some of his more, if you can get more conservative people are like, nah, blah, 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 don't turn it into Illinois. But we're seeing so much money go to three other states.
Hmm.
Think about that. It's not just getting the tax money, but also the a reason that data centers are becoming so rampant in our farmlands is the state of Indiana hasn't done a whole lot to make Indiana's agriculture industry stay stable, and we've kind of beat them to shit the
Hmm.
past few years.
Hmm.
Like probably for a good near 2 decades, they're seeing their land get less and less lucrative. Then we add these tariffs, then we add the rising costs of stuff like manure to even turn a buck. Of course, when Amazon dingles this, beautiful golden carrot in front of them and they're like, wow, I can make that much money to pass it on to my children. And now my children have a legacy that they're not going to get out of this land. I don't blame the farmers for wanting to sell their land to the data centers. But if we make their land more lucrative again by, offering these medical marijuana permits and contracts to family farms before corporate farms,
Hello.
suddenly their land is now more lucrative and they're not so excited and quick to sell it to these data centers. The data centers have a harder time coming in here. Now we have all this revenue. We haven't raised taxes. We can split it up for things like improving our electrical grid. We can use it to improve our school systems, to bring healthcare back to rural areas. So I know I'm asking for a lot by saying that, but I'm not even asking for the whole shebang. I'm just asking us to legalize medical cannabis, and that way we have opened the door to a new revenue stream as opposed to taxing the people more with money they don't have.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little cynic here because I've watched how these Republicans move, how they move. I agree. We need to legalize cannabis. I think it needs to just be legalized. I don't need it to just be if you want to do a recreational, go knock yourself out, because we already know prohibition doesn't work. Right? We know this. We know this from history and current events with people driving to the border over. But here's what I'm worried about. And you bring up some good points. I am worried that they already know the timetable that they are going to legalize cannabis in Indiana. And they have told their buddies, and their buddies have already lined up the necessary revenue and investment money so that they could come in and create not only the farms, but the distribution centers and the distilleries. And then the average person, because we don't know what's happening, we're going to be left out, just like selling alcohol on Sunday, right? They knew that this alcohol on Sunday was coming. And I don't mean to be cynical, because I agree with you. Like you are dead on, right? My cynic in me says, yeah, it's coming. And especially since you said Braun already's like, yo, let's talk about it. He's saying, let's talk about it because his boys is already lined up to come in and set up shop. But
right. That's why I said we need to put an emphasis for the farmers on family, non-corporate farms. We need to give those permits to the family farms, non-corporate farms. And listen, I have some libertarians even that follow me and they like me. So I don't want to make them mad. I'm not saying we have to keep it highly regulated forever, but I'm saying Indiana's agriculture industry needs to be revitalized. And if we can even offer the permits to the family farms for a good 10 years and let them know that you have this amount of time to make this amount of money, they want the money. They're going to work their hides off to make sure they make that profit. And then I think we also, I don't love the word always. Well, I'm fine with it. It's my libertarian friends that won't. A moratorium on corporate dispensaries. Like, can we let this be a small business for a little while and rejuvenate our small business economy in Indiana? I hope so, because I'm a small business owner, and let me tell you, we need it.
Yeah, I feel that. And see, now I appreciate that you have libertarian friends. I really do. But I always ask the libertarians, so when the blizzard comes, are you going to put the snowplow on your Tesla? Yeah. Because they don't want any taxes. They don't want any regulation. Right. They don't want any of that. It's like, that's not how a society is going to work. There's still, anyway, I'm not going to talk about libertarians.
No. I was going to say, the crazy thing is what I'm hearing from my libertarian friends is like, yeah, we don't like all of that. But also we've had a super majority for so long. We'd take a little bit of the Democrats running it a little bit to just get us back on track.
Yes.
Because what they're doing is just adding more and more and more taxes. So they're like, I really literally had one tell me, if I have to pay taxes, which we all know I do, I want it to going to help my community, not into billionaires' pockets. And I'm like, yes, there's where we connect.
Yes. And that's exactly what's happening. So I love that. And I love that you're opening up your conversation, right? I love that you're saying, do you do this as a live or, like on Facebook Live or something like that?
Not really. I have been on a libertarian podcast. My political journey has been a like weird. And so, like I said, I started out very conservative. That's what I was like told to do. And then I started to see that, like, that's not aligning. And then it was kind of like, because I was told this for so long, I was like, can I be like, am I allowed to be Democrat? And then like I heard the libertarians and I'm like, actually, that makes a lot of sense. But then for a while I was like, oh, that Green Party, that is really alluring. And so then in Indiana, none of that exists. So I was just like, you know what? This is where I'm at.
I love that. I love that. And we are the Big Tent party. I know a lot of people, especially after the Secretary of State's, race that came. I know that there was a lot of divisive conversation. I'm gonna leave that alone. But one of the things that makes our we have a two-party system. That's what we have. And the Republicans have already passed legislation that says we can't do ranked choice voting, which we weren't doing anyway, right? They wrote a bill to solve a problem that didn't exist. So this is what we have. And we are a big tent. So I try to remind people, we take the bluest of blue dog and the most progressive of progressive, and let's just work together, because I believe no matter where y'all fall on that spectrum, y'all gonna line up with me, my values, about 70% of the time. Like, yeah. It's not gonna be 100%, but it's going to be about 70%.
And not only that, whatever we're doing when we are, I guess, allowing that divisiveness in our big tent, which we shouldn't. I agree with your message. Whatever we're doing obviously isn't working, because the supermajority, love them or hate them, they at least fall in line. And I'm not saying we need to fall in line. I really think you should still have your voice heard, but your voice is never going to really make a difference until we can get people elected. So sometimes you just have to agree with the 70%-ish. Like you said, we could agree on 70% of stuff. Agree with me 70% of time. Let us all, 70%ers get in there and try to help start to move the needle in Indiana a little bit, because being divided is what's keeping us losers.
Oh my gosh. Kate, I gotta tell you, you got a fan.
Yay!
You gotta, that's literally you.
I get it, Dana. I get it.
I want to say the divine stepped in right on time today to give me exactly what I needed, and you are it. I'm telling you, thank you. And thank you for putting your name on the ballot. I think we will be a much better place with regular common sense folk writing policies. Oh my God, common sense. My mom used to tell me all the time, common sense ain't so common. Well, you got a lot of common sense, and I'll take that over a bunch of book learning any day of the week, because that means you can reason and you can see things for what they are without any preconceived notions. You just try to figure out the understanding, and then you move forward. Oh my God, you are a breath of freaking fresh air.
Thank you. I think it has a lot to do with like my upbringing. I had no choice but to find the reasoning and find the way to get through something. And I think that's actually my strength and what will help me craft legislation.
I think you'll be great. I think you'll be 100% fantastic.
Thank you.
My gosh, we've come to the end of the recording, because I tell you what, I could talk to you all day. I like listening to you. So I'm excited for you, because like I said, breath of fresh air. But tell the people where they can find you.
Okay, so my website is www.votekate4state, and all of my social media, which is Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, is also Vote Kate for State. So all of it's the same.
I love it. All right, y'all. Kate-Lynn Holley, candidate for State Senate, District 6. She lit up my day. She has the pink. She's a wrestler, former wrestler, retired wrestler, and she's a common sense candidate. But what she didn't do, I'm going to do for her. Right? This is that part where it's just me and you talking. Did you catch that vibe from me and the candidate? Did you catch the vibe? Listen. This is what I want you to do. If you haven't already done so, I want you to click her donate button, because here's the thing. Common sense, having all of the right talking points, being an original, still she needs money to be able to touch people. She's got to be able to knock on doors. She's got to be able to send out mailers. And a Senate district is bigger than a council district. It's bigger than a House district. So it's a huge geographical area that she has to cover, which means she's going to need volunteers. She probably has a lot of rural Indiana, which means there's going to be a lot of driving in between touching those contacts. She needs money. She's going to need a significant amount of money to give her volunteers gas cards who are going to be knocking on doors, to give them water when they're in communities that are closer together. She's going to need them for those mailers. Please, she's a breath of fresh air. Y'all see how excited I am to have talked to her today, because she was amazing. She was absolutely amazing. And a fun, you guys said you wanted new types of candidates. You said you wanted somebody fresh. You said you wanted somebody that was going to, get you excited. Am I not excited? And are you not entertained? Kate-Lynn, click her donate button. Donate to her campaign. I'm excited. All right, Indiana's own Dana Black, thank you so much for tuning in. Oh, we've got more candidates to come. So keep watching, keep looking, and thank you for supporting Turn Left and this independent work that I'm doing out here. I'm really grateful for your support and people tuning in and watching it on the Tickety Talks and all the things. So thank you for all of that. All right, y'all. Indiana's own Dana Black, Turn Left. I will holla at y'all next time. Peace. Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions, executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by Dorian and 22 from Pixabay.